Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Redeem Her Time podcast. Today, we're having a conversation around common sales mistakes that women entrepreneurs make and how to overcome them. And you're going to walk away from today learning how to sell differently because of my guest, Andee Hart, who has joined us today. So, Andee, welcome to the Redeem Her Time podcast. I want to start off just by getting to know you. Tell us, who you are and just kind of like, what does this season of life hold for you outside of the work that you do?
Thanks so much, Lisa, for having me. What a blessing to be here. And yes, this season of life has been one of change, a lot of change. I just moved 800 miles away to be closer to family and left my corporate job about 2 years ago. So I am fairly new still to the entrepreneur world and left my corporate career of 17 years
Mm.
in technology sales. And that's a whole story in and of itself. I never thought I would actually step away from my corporate job. But of course, as so many can attest to, God has other plans and um, have loved every minute of this adventure I've been on, just sharing my skills in sales to help women entrepreneurs learn how to shift their belief in selling. And so, yes, I would define this season as one of immense change in every way, and just growth and learning. And so, it has definitely brought me closer to the Lord as well, because I think as anyone can share too, and knows that has been through a season of change, it's also one of can be one of hardships as well. And so, it's I loved where I lived in Raleigh for 10 or 11 years, and so that was hard to leave, but it's also just sweet to be close to family as well. And so, yes, I now full-time entrepreneur sharing about how to sell differently and how to do that in a way that aligns with your values,
Mm.
in a way that God teaches us to do that is countercultural to what the world tells us to
I
do.
I love it. We're gonna have an amazing conversation here.
Yes,
And,
yes.
here's the beauty of it is that entrepreneurship, I think, is really our own growth journey as well. And as I heard you talk about the different
Hmm.
seasons and how God is preparing you in a corporate setting, then brought you into this entrepreneurship,
Yeah,
being that you could use those skills, and then moved you across the country, right? And thankfully, because of entrepreneurship, you can move across the country and still do what you do and be able to, be with family.
absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
yeah, he's always got a plan, even though we don't always know exactly where it's
Yes.
going. And yeah, trusting him is always the beautiful part of that. So you said something that I want to circle back to that I wrote down. I said, you help women to shift their belief in selling. Because I think here's the thing is we all want the skill set, not just the mindset. We're like, give me the scripts, right?
Hmm.
I just want to know like what's the right way to do it. And I think we oftentimes jump straight there. And I find the same thing around time. People want to jump into the time hacks. They want all the time management tricks and tools and things. And while those are good, it's that mindset. And in my world, it's that stewardship mindset that now we pick up the tools. So talk to us a little bit about just this need to shift our belief around selling before we even think about, the actual strategy,
Yeah.
selling.
It's so interesting that you use the word scripts, because as someone that has been a sales coach, even in corporate America, I've been a sales manager, I've been a sales director, climbed the ladder. I am like, let's throw the scripts out the window,
Right?
because some of the best sales executives that I have seen are introverts. And what does our culture tell us? Our culture says that the great sales reps that you see, or the great salespeople that you see, and you see ads out there, and they're always the men usually that are getting in their Lamborghinis or their planes, and they're telling you they're very charismatic, and they're telling you how to overcome every objection. And here's your script for it. Here's how you do that. And here's the reality. God did not create us all with the same personality that is going to work for. And so how you connect with a customer is going to be very different than that person that's getting in that airplane and how he earned that. And good for them, right? I'm not downing them. My point being is that how someone else connects with the customer is all very different because God and his wisdom created us all differently.
I love this. And I love that reminder that you don't have to be an extrovert to be good at sales. You know, some
Yes.
people are like, I'm not good at sales because I'm an introvert, you know, and that really has nothing to do with it. In fact, maybe sometimes it could be to your benefit because you can just be more personal with people one-on-one than trying to, yeah, be up in front and things like that. So here's the thing. Everyone who's listens to my podcast, at least I think most of them,
Mhm.
have a business because we talk about a
Yep.
lot of business stuff. We talk about scaling your business, which means, you know, I'm scaling my results, my reach, my revenue, you know, my team as I start bringing people on and things like that. And here's the thing that I find from most women I talk to. They tell me they want more sales. You know,
Hmm.
like, I mean, once in a while I'll meet somebody who's like, I am maxed out on the number of clients or customers that I can serve. And, you know, like, I'm not looking for more, you know, make more sales and bring people in. But most of the women I talk to are not seeing the ROTI, the return on time invested that they want. They're putting in all this time so, like you mentioned, and we kind of started this whole conversation with the fact that like there are common sales mistakes that we're making that I bet are contributing to the lack of results that maybe we're feeling. So walk us through like what are some of the common mistakes that we make when we're doing sales, and why is this something that we need to even be addressing as business owners?
Yeah, I think one of the big common sales mistakes is that we assume that we know what our customer wants
Mm,
without actually asking the right questions. And we see this all the time in our daily lives. So, and this is what gives sales a bad reputation, right? So, I want you to think about the last time that you walked in a store and someone just started pitching you a product, and you're like, I have no use for that. Stop. You're just cringing, right? This is what gives sales a bad reputation. It's the same thing in the online world. When you are getting pitched something, whether it's via email or what have you, and you're like, that I have no need for that. Like this person really has no clue about what my pain points are and what my challenges are. And here's something that I find interesting that was really just amplified for me lately, that people buy to escape pain more than they buy for a positive transformation. And that's interesting.
yeah.
So often we are trying to sell without understanding our customers' pain points first and foremost. And guess what? As you evolve as a business owner, your customers' pain points are evolving too.
Mm,
And so you have to make sure you are constantly in touch with your customers and understanding, is this what I'm selling, this product offering, this product, the service, is this touching my customers' pain points? And is my sales copy, is my, are my emails, what I am saying, what I am conveying, is it hitting their pain points? Am I
mm.
targeting that? That's one of the biggest sales mistakes that I have made before, that I see when I'm not hitting the mark, and that I see in other people as well.
This is so interesting because I literally was just having this conversation with some of my clients where we talk about where are they focusing their time in business. And so many of them are in the creation cave, I call it. You know,
Hmm.
you're like in this dark, you know, cave and it feels really good because you're making the sales page or you're building the module or you're creating the product or whatever, right? And but you're literally like in this cave and then like you come out, you know, and you're looking around and you're like, why isn't anybody buying my stuff? Like just
Yep.
because you build it doesn't mean they will come. And I think some of it is because if you're not always connecting with your ideal person, you are, you know, you're not, like you said, connecting with what their
Hmm.
needs and pain points and desires are. And so it could be the best product in the world and exactly what they need, but it's like how you're able to help them see that is not going to happen unless you're having conversations, right?
Yeah. You've got to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, right? So you might have, to your point, you might have the great product that hits their pain points,
Hmm.
and it might not bridge that gap. And one of the first lessons that I learned in sales, I remember I was selling computers to small business owners, and we had to sell a leasing option. And I, for the life of me, Lisa, could not get customers to finance their computer. But it was part of my metrics that I needed to hit. And so this lesson has stuck with me time and time again. I had to keep on adjusting how I pitched the leasing option. So if that didn't hit with the customer, I would go back and refine how I positioned it.
Mm.
And finally, after probably 6 months, I hit the nail on the head. And every customer that I pitched it to was like, done, sign me up. I want to lease this.
Mm.
It made sense. My point in saying that is that I finally bridged that gap because I did not give up. I refined my approach. And so what I see happen all of the time is that creators, small business owners, entrepreneurs, they've created something great. I have been so guilty of this myself. Like I'm talking to myself right now. And we don't bridge the gap and we don't connect with the pain points. And instead of refining our approach until we hit the mark and it explodes and we're finally making that reoccurring revenue, we move on and we start the process all over again.
Mm.
And we're
Yeah.
back to square one. And so then we're in this endless cycle of no sales
Mm.
over and over again. And I have seen that in myself. And I'm like, you know better than this. You know better than this. And that's part of the art of sales. And I see something that sets successful entrepreneurs apart is that they never give up because usually it's not about your product. Your product is great.
Yeah.
It's your approach.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting. I even heard recently a statistic that like only 40% of sales people actually follow up more than once. And
Yeah.
it's kind of like, again, like if it's just like, well, this is a one-time thing, and if they don't say yes to this pitch, then I guess they don't want it. I mean, how sad that we could be, just missing out on an opportunity, not because we're trying to convince somebody, so we're going to keep coming back and annoying them, but just like you said, like going back and not assuming and asking questions and getting curious and finding ways to connect what you have to offer
Yeah.
to, what it is that they've just told you that they need. And then, like you said, the light bulb comes on, and it's going to be different, right, for everybody, as you go through that process. So, this is, again, this is something that I think a lot of us think we're not good at, or we try to avoid, and we don't like, right?
Hmm.
We don't want to be the slimy salesperson or, things like that. I love that you titled your podcast, She Sells Differently. So before we go into like how you teach people to sell differently, let's just kind of high level talk about like, how does the world teach us to approach sales, right? And how should that be different? As people who have integrity and actually care. I'm not saying that people who aren't believers don't care, but like
Right.
we're really coming at this from, this is a calling. This is a like, this is something I know God has given me to do, and it's not just about me. So how is just even our approach to be different than maybe the way the rest of the world would teach us to approach it?
Yeah. So I remember, I've been through so many sales trainings in my career and hearing the words, and if anyone has been through any kind of sales training, they'll laugh when they hear this ABC, always be closing. That's what it stands for, or terms like overcome every objection. And the reality is that not everyone is your customer. And when you actually can understand that and own that and know that not everyone's your customer, that's actually freeing. It's freeing because that means that you know who your customer is and who your customer isn't. And it gives you the freedom to serve the right customers really well.
Mm.
And the customers that are not your customer, you can actually point them in the right direction for people that can serve them better than you can.
Yeah.
And the thing that I have found, Lissa, when I knew that I was not the right person to serve that customer, it's very hard when you come across that because you want to make a sale. But when you ask the right questions and you want to make a sale, you're always taught, oh, just make the sale. It doesn't matter. But
Mm.
on the back end, what happens when you make a sale and you know that it's not your product offering is not the right fit, you end up spending more time and more energy. And what you know better than anyone is that time is money
Yeah.
because you're trying to push a square peg in a round hole with that customer. And they have a bad experience because it doesn't jive, right? And
Sure.
that's when you get the negative sales experience and the
Sure.
pushy sales experience. And so every time that I have actually told a customer, "Hey, this course is not right for you, at least right now, and what you're telling me that your goals are, but this person over here, I would recommend you go work with
Mhm.
them." They're like, "Wait, what? You're
Wow.
you're you don't you don't want to work with me?" They're shocked and
Sure.
they do one of two things. They either recommend me to someone else
Mm.
or they have come back when it is the right time for them to work with me and their goals do align with what I have to offer and they
Sure.
invest
Yeah.
and they work with me.
Yeah.
And so when you have that mentality, you can serve with excellence, which is what the Lord calls us to do in our
Yeah.
work.
Right. I love that. Right. And it's like you valued them over the sale, the person, right,
Yeah.
over just the purchase and, the income coming in and really serve them. I think yeah, it would be doing them a disservice to try to force something or to, take their money for something that wasn't a right fit or a right timing for them. And to really be able to be honest about that. So yeah, I mean, just yeah, I'm sure that people aren't used to hearing that because, in the world,
Yeah.
you're not going to hear, here, go to my competitor, quote unquote, even though, we know they do something different. But yeah, so what a beautiful thing to, yeah, think about how we can stand out as different and truly be serving people. So let's talk a little bit of practical things. Like how do we actually start approaching sales in a different way, in a way that honors the Lord, in a way that truly honors, this person that we are called to serve? Yeah, what are some things that we can do or not do, whether it's around the mindset piece of things or whether it's around the skill set piece of things that will help us to sell differently?
Yeah. So, first thing I think that is important is, and I mentioned this earlier, but really going back to the basics and knowing your audience. And I think sometimes this is overdone or over talked about in a way that, you know, a lot of courses or a lot of coaches will say, "Yeah, know your target audience," but when I say this, I mean everything that you do should come back to from your sales page to your welcome sequence, your nurture sequence to even your sales emails to anything you put out there on social media should come back to your core messaging and your target audience. And that should really be refined with, every 6 to 12 months. And so
Mm,
something that I have really started doing before I ever create a new offer is I will create a core messaging document.
mm,
And, AI really helps with this nowadays because it will, and I have a GPT that a custom GPT that I use now to help me refine this. But I create a document and it has my pain points. It has, a targeted ideal customer avatar. And so I just have that document laid out for that specific offer and I refer everything back to that. And so it is just laser focused. So that's my first recommendation is really spending the time. And sometimes that will take me a couple of hours, knowing your target audience. The second thing I would say is to simplify.
mm,
And this goes back to what I said of before you decide to create another offer, make sure that you have really worked to connect and exhausted all efforts to bridge the gap to your target audience with this offer. And you're not creating another offer just to create another offer.
Yeah.
I think, often we have so many offers in our portfolio, in our ecosystem, that we're just confusing our customers.
And ourselves sometimes, right? Like, where am I bringing
Yeah.
somebody in? Is it this, or this? And yeah, too many decisions, right? If we're a confused mind,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. A confused mind does not buy.
Yeah, yeah. And I
And
think even on the business owner side, if I'm confused in my head about what I'm offering,
yeah.
like I'm not going to be making the offer. I'm not going to be
Yeah.
able to really speak to what they need, right? Yeah.
And simplicity scales.
Yeah.
Simplicity scales. And then the third thing would be, and I highlighted this earlier, but be consistent.
Mm,
Be consistent. You should not make that offer once and never make it again. You have to follow up. And you even just mentioned a statistic earlier. And I've actually heard at some point, and this could be a different industry, but 90% of people never follow up. And so you can be in just the 10%
mm,
by just following up and having a regular rhythm of staying in front of your audience. And, if what you're saying is not landing with your audience, then try tweaking just one small thing with your sales page, just one thing at a time, and seeing how that lands. So, doing those A/B tests and being patient, not trying to rush, but just being consistent.
yeah. And here's the thing. Here's where it all comes down to time. And I always make a joke and say I can make any conversation come back to time, but you're so right. Like it's going to take time to really get clear, right? Like on your ideal,
Mhm.
on who that person is and what their needs are, and then how this offer or product,
Yeah,
whatever that is filling the gap, and then actually having conversations and connecting with people and following up because it may be, it's just not right for them right now, or they're just in a place even in their life where they can't even make a decision about, something else right now. And if we're just kind of here today, gone tomorrow, then yeah, that sale isn't
yeah,
going to happen, and the opportunity to serve them is never going to happen. And so, this is something that I teach. I teach my clients this very simple thing. When you are in business, there really are only two things you need to spend time on: getting clients and serving clients,
mm,
right? But they both require time and they both require, like, an intentionality. Or not just, again, I don't mean getting clients like I'm just trying to get a client, right?
right.
In the way we've been talking about it here, where it's the right clients at the right time with the
Hmm.
right, fit and things like that. Like, and so many other things we do that we spend time on in business don't have the ROI, or as we call
Hmm.
it here, the ROTI, the return on time invested. So as we start approaching, sales in this way, like how does this affect our ROTI? And even
Hmm.
how does it affect, like, yes, it's going to take time, but does it actually end up saving us time when we do it this way versus
Yeah,
the way that maybe we have been in the past? Like, let's kind of talk through kind of how this changes things for us around our time and our results of our time.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
What would you
Sorry,
say? Yeah, no, what would you say? Like,
sorry.
how does this, how does this change our results? So again, that woman listening, I just even did a poll this morning with some of my clients, and I said, would you rather us spend our next session together on how do I, serve so many clients coming in at once, or how do I bring in clients? And guess what? Most of them were asking the how do I bring in clients piece of things, right? So they're not always seeing those results they want. This is where I think a lot of people are stuck in business. I would
Yeah.
love to serve a whole bunch of people, but I'm just trying to, make this connection. So how does approaching sales like this, how does it affect our results? I guess is my question.
Oh, how does it affect our results?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I think, approaching sales from that perspective of bringing in clients where you are. Let me back up. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to edit that little part out. I got like so sidetracked because I like paused there for a second and like messed up.
No
You
worries.
are let me reframe that. I know, so sorry, you're gonna have to edit that out. You're asking um, approaching sales, like bringing in clients and restate the question.
Yeah.
Sorry, Melissa. Oh
Yeah. No,
my
it's fine.
goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? I'm
I
like,
love how you're teaching us to approach sales differently. And it's going
yes,
to take time. And this is the thing, it's going to cost time. But in business, we know that investing time on this side of things and bringing clients in is going to produce results, right? Like it is worth
yep,
it. So, how does changing our approach to how we are doing it with some of the things you told us today, how will that affect our results and the amount of sales that we're able to actually make?
result. I don't know why I'm like, my like brain is like foggy on that question. I'm like, results, bring it.
Does this help us make more sales if we approach it differently?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Okay. Cool. Okay. Um, yes. So absolutely. When you approach sales differently, you are not only making more sales, but you're keeping customers for the long term too. And so think about the fact that it takes more to acquire a customer, it costs more to actually acquire a customer than it does to keep a customer. And so not only are you acquiring the right customers, but you're keeping them for the long term because you generate loyalty. And not only when you generate loyalty, but the best kind of marketing and sales is when those customers that have a great experience with you are telling other people about you too. And so that's the kind of sales that I want for my business is when you have a great people that have a great experience with you, they're sticking with you for the long haul, and then they're telling other people, you need to go work with Lissa because this is the a great experience and this is the transformation that I experienced with her. That to me is selling differently
Mhm.
and delivering with excellence.
I love that, right? Because it's so true. It's going to cost more money and more time to always be looking for new, right? And while we do still always want to have new people that are coming into our ecosystem, like you said, there is this value of someone that we've already worked with.
Yeah.
We've built this like equity in a relationship in, the trust that has been built in the results that they're seeing.
Yeah.
It's a great return on time invested for both us as a business owner, but also for our clients. And like you said,
Yeah.
they're going to go tell the world, which I love this. So as we're kind of wrapping things up today, again, that woman who's listening right now, and I'm sure there are many of them. She's like, okay, like, but Andee, I just really struggle with sales, or like it's so slow and it feels so hard. Like, what would be just one piece of encouragement that you would give to her today, that would help move her out of feeling that way and staying stuck in that place?
Yeah, so I would say remember, sales is not something that you can just flip a switch and you are automatically have a great, you're great at sales. I always talk about the analogy of walking into a gym, and it's something that you have to work on. You have to build that muscle every day. And so it's also something that takes courage. And I always say 10 seconds of courage, just 10 seconds of courage. Sometimes it means 10 seconds of courage and sending that pitch or that email or having that conversation. But I also want to turn your reader's attention back to really look at Proverbs 31. And I think scripture gives such a good reference for sales. And we always think about Proverbs 31 as a wife of noble character. But look at it from a perspective of a woman that is selling and making money and serving her family with excellence because she is selling something that she is making and she's taking it to the merchant and she's selling. It's a beautiful example of selling in scripture. And so go look at Proverbs 31, take a look at this woman in scripture that's selling. And I think it's a sweet example for those of us, women entrepreneurs and the gift that the Lord has given us to steward well And I will end with this because I tell my clients this all the time. When you have a gift and you have something that serves others well, then you owe it to share it with them. You owe it to tell others
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. And that's what stewardship's all about. It doesn't belong to us in the first place, whether it's our
Yeah.
time, whether it's, the abilities that God has given us, this business He's given us, we are to
Yeah.
be using it to serve others and to glorify Him. And so I
Yeah.
love that. So thank you for that reminder and for pointing
Yeah.
us right to a great example of who's someone who was actually like living this out. So I love
Mhm.
this. So I am going to be inviting everyone over into the Redeem Her Time community after this conversation because that's where we take this, off the podcast and into real life and business. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a 10 seconds of courage challenge. And so I want everyone who's listened to this head over to the community. If you're not a member yet, go to redeemhertime.com/community. We'll link that in the show notes. And what's your 10 seconds of courage going to be today? Like today, when
Mm.
you're listening to this, not tomorrow, not next week or next year, but like today, 10 seconds. Everyone has 10 seconds who's listening to our voices right now, right? And then just do that one thing and see what happens, as you step into that. So I know people, Andee, are also going to want to, find out like, where do I get in touch with Andee? We're going to invite you into the community as well, so people can get to know you there. But what would be a great next step for someone who wants to get into your world and learn a little bit more about what you do,
Yes.
help them with sales?
Thanks for asking. My podcast, or excuse me, my podcast is Andee Hart, or sorry, my website is andeehart.com. And then my podcast is She Sells Differently. If you want to learn more sales and marketing tips there as well.
Fantastic. Great. Well, we'll make sure to link to that in the show notes. You guys go check it out because I love how, different people just are able to really bring a specific area to life. And Andee has such a great way of doing that. So I know you're going to love it. So thank you so much for being on today, Andee, for sharing your expertise and just your heart with us. I always love to end with a personal question. Right now it's fall, y'all, and we're in this last couple months of the year, and it can feel like there's a lot going on, especially as business owners. And yet we want to pause to, be present to what matters most. So my question for you is like, what is it time for in this season as
Mm.
you are approaching the end of the year? What are you wanting to make sure you make time for?
Ugh. I love this question. So I moved to Arkansas. I mentioned that at the beginning of the podcast to specifically my family, but specifically for my niece and nephew,
Mm.
and their birthdays are coming up. So I'm just looking forward to celebrating them. They're my sunshine. So I'm looking forward to family time.
So fun, so fun. Well,
Yeah.
enjoy that. I know that we'll have a good return on time invested,
Yes.
and it will mean so much to all of you. So thanks so much for being on with us, for sharing everything with us today, and we'll see you guys over in the community.